Prime Minister. Question number 1, Miss Joyce Quinn.
This morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall be having further meetings later today. This evening I hope to have an audience of Her Majesty the Queen. Joyce Quinn.
Can the Prime Minister explain how the creation of hereditary baronetcies fits in with his idea of the classless...
Order! The Honourable Lady... Order! Order! The Honourable Lady cannot ask about the royal prerogative. Because it is outside... It is a long convention and outside our rules. We'll try a different tack.
Discuss it with the Queen.
Mr. Speaker, is it true that the Prime Minister recommended the creation of a hereditary baronetcy? And if this is the case...
It's just as bad. Mr. Roger King!
Number 2, sir.
I refer my honourable friend to the answer I gave some moments ago.
Mr. Roger King!
Mr. Speaker, does my...
Order! Order. The whole House knows that we do not bring the royal family into our discussions here. Roger King!
Mr. Speaker, does my right honourable friend... Does my...
I order! Absolutely disgraceful behaviour. Order! The whole House knows the rules about this. Mr. Roger King.
Mr. Speaker, does my right honourable friend share the enthusiasm felt on this side of the House for the European Community's decision to lift new investment sanctions against South Africa? Does he not share my belief that only through this kind of investment can we bring peace and harmony to South Africa? And does he share also the belief by Oliver Tambo in his statement at the weekend that the only people that wish to maintain comprehensive sanctions against South Africa are extreme elements of the ANC and the British Labour Party?
Mr. Speaker, I do think that the agreement by the European Council over the weekend to lift the ban on new investment in South Africa was a very positive step indeed, and it was a step for which Britain has been pressing for some time. I hope that other governments will soon follow suit, follow the European Community's example. The very great changes we've seen in South Africa in recent years have been very welcome. In due course, I hope they will be able to continue, and we will be able properly to welcome South Africa back wholeheartedly into the African and the world community.
Mr.
Speaker, would the right honourable gentleman confirm that the number of homes now being built in Britain is at a lower level than at any time since the First World War?
I would confirm to the right honourable gentleman that over the recent few years there have been more people move into home ownership, a higher quality and standard of housing than ever before.
Mr. Speaker, I wonder why the right honourable gentleman is refusing to answer a very plain question. I hear what he says, but since this government has cut £6 billion from housing investment and imposed the highest mortgages in all of history, doesn't he realise that not only is the government responsible for a loss of homes, but vastly increased homelessness?
I think the right honourable gentleman will find his facts are incorrect. Insofar as the quality, nature and quantity of housing is concerned, I am very happy to match the record of this government against any previous.
Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister then acknowledge, first, that this government, during the time that he's been Chief Secretary and Chancellor and now Prime Minister, has made huge cuts in housing budgets? Will he not confirm that under this government, mortgage rates have been higher for longer than ever before? And will he not confirm that whilst they've halved housing investment, they've doubled homelessness?
The right honourable gentleman in his list wholly overlooks the remarkable changes made to the voluntary housing movement, to housing associations and to action on homelessness.
Nicholas Ridley!
Mr. Speaker, is my right honourable friend aware that the chairman of the Bundesbank, Herr Pohl, said the other day that interest rates should be set according to monetary conditions and not used to affect the exchange rate? Is he aware that many of my friends, honourable friends, agree with that point of view, and that if we use interest rates to maintain the exchange rate, we're likely to have a wider and deeper recession than we need to have for the control of inflation?
I think, as my right honourable friend knows, there is clearly a relationship between interest and exchange rate policy. Insofar as the governor of the Bundesbank is concerned, he too, with the Deutschmark, is part of the exchange rate mechanism, and Germany have done rather well as a result of that.
Benny Ashton.
Did the Prime Minister see the comments at the weekend from his governor in the Bank of England, which indicated that the Prime Minister's decision when Chancellor to cut interest rates in advance of the Tory party conference meant that his party gained a political dividend too early, for which jobs and industry today are paying?
The right honourable gentleman should read all of what the governor said, in which he made it perfectly clear that that matter was fully discussed with him and a joint decision was reached.
Sir Marcus Fox.
Mr. Speaker, setting aside the argument that shops should obey the law, could I ask...
Order! Not certain that's a very good start.
Could I ask the Prime Minister, bearing in mind the huge demand from shoppers and traders alike, that there is an urgent need to allow people to shop on Sunday, and the present law should be reformed?
Mr. Speaker, the present law on Sunday trading is widely felt to be unsatisfactory. As my honourable friend has said, we have tried to reform it in the past, but on that occasion our proposals did not find favour with the House. I can well understand the impatience of honourable members over the state of the Sunday trading law. A great deal of the Sunday trading law is bizarre, and the time may well be approaching when the Sunday observance lobby should sit down with the retail trade to see whether an acceptable compromise could be reached. There is, as the House knows, an acceptable law in Scotland that has not wrecked the special significance of Sunday. I would welcome one in England too.
Mr. Peter Pike.
Number 3, sir.
I refer my honourable friend to the answer I gave some moments ago.
Pike.
But will the Prime Minister not recognise that at this time of seasonal goodwill, the mortgage misery of millions of people in this country who are paying considerably more as a result of this government's financial mismanagement over the last few years? Will he recognise that in the North West, on an average mortgage of £34,800, that is costing at the present time £110 more than it would have done 2.5 years ago?
I understand very clearly the problems faced by many people with high mortgage rates. The underlying need and necessity is to get the inflation rate down, and interest rate policy is a necessary part of that.
Mr. Bowden.
Is my right honourable friend aware that every week many thousands of British animals are sent to antiquated European slaughterhouses? They arrive hungry and thirsty, battered and damaged. Will he take steps, please, to stop this needless cruelty and suffering to animals?
I do regard a great deal of that as unattractive. I think there are laws covering the circumstances in which such exports take place, and I will examine them personally, as my honourable friend suggests.
Scrabble Janop.
Number 4, sir.
I refer the honourable gentleman to the answer I gave some moments ago.
Scrabble Janop.
What comfort can the Prime Minister give to my
89-year-old constituent, Mrs. Phyllis Smith, who, like thousands of other elderly people who live in rest homes, can no longer get free incontinence aids from the National Health Service. What would he advise her to do with bills like this one for £179 when she's on income support? She cannot afford to buy these aids, and they are basic essentials of human dignity.
As the honourable gentleman is as aware as anyone in the House, both the general level of provision and the specific level of income support are higher today than at any previous time.
Hughes! Order! Mr. Hughes!
Is my right honourable friend aware that his calm and intelligent approach to the European summit and the negotiations has caused widespread admiration in my constituency and indeed across the country, and that they recognise, as he recognises, that we have everything to gain from those negotiations, and together with our European partners working out solutions to the many problems that face the European community.
I am certainly grateful to my honourable friend. It is clear within the European community that on some matters we have a clear and distinct view, and we will sustain that clear and distinct view, and on those occasions we will in the future, as so often in the past, win the arguments.
Roy Hughes!
I refer the honourable gentleman to the answer I gave some moments ago.
Roy Hughes!
The Prime Minister has spoken of creating a classless society. But what sort of classless society is it going to be if, as forecast, unemployment once again goes over the 2 million mark? Why does he not at least take the advice of the CBI and reduce interest rates without delay?
Because we are determined to get inflation down and keep it down, not get it down artificially at the risk of a greater problem at a later time.
Mr. Andy Stewart!
Number 6, sir.
I refer my honourable friend to the answer I gave some moments ago.
Andy Stewart!
Mr. Speaker, recently the chairman of British Coal announced record financial profits, the best for 13 years. Recently, the miners of this country produced an all-time productivity record of over 5 tonnes per man shift. Recently, the Mine Workers' Pension Scheme announced an increase in pensions of over 15%. Would my right honourable friend take this opportunity to congratulate all these people for making these records attainable?
Mr. Speaker, I'm certainly happy to do so. Both British Coal and their workforce deserve very great credit for their achievements, and particularly for their recent record level of production. I think it will provide a very firm foundation indeed for the future of the coal industry.
Seamus Mallon!
Mr. Speaker, nobody could fail to be impressed by the Prime Minister's stated conviction that everyone in this country has a right to place his or her place in the sun and to equal opportunity. As we approach...
Eric Ilsley!
I refer the honourable gentleman to the answer I gave some moments ago.
Ilsley!
The fact that the government's economic policy is leading to one consequence and one consequence only, higher unemployment, will the Prime Minister ask his right honourable friend to ensure that more money is made available under the revenue support grant settlements for areas such as mine, where unemployment is already at double the national average levels? Will he ensure that more money is made available in January under the revenue support grant to alleviate some of the problems of that unemployment?
The consequence of economic management, in fact, next year will be lower inflation and renewed growth. Insofar as the revenue support grant statement is concerned, my right honourable friend will make a statement in due course.